Last question.
Yeah.
DMX passed recently.
Hmm.
We actually, I've hinted at this before, but I'll give you some more details. Publicly for the first time, we had actually paid him a significant amount of money to do an interview with him.
Mm.
Me and his manager, had worked out. They wanted all the money up front. We signed a contract, everything else like that. And he was out of town. He got sick at one point and so forth. We kept kind of rescheduling and so forth. We were waiting for him to come back to New York so we could do it in person. We didn't want to do it remotely. And then he ended up passing.
That's why you knew so much when we were talking about where it was.
Right.
I knew you had an in.
Right. Yeah. I was talking to his manager every day, leading up to that. And then when it happened, it was like we continued to talk every day and he was kind of giving me the information.
They did a great job at the Barclays Center.
Yeah.
For his memorial.
His memorial, yeah. And it was interesting because, I talked to his manager the other day and, I found out some interesting things about him. He basically said that the money that we paid him for the interview actually kept him alive longer because they used the money to keep him out of town, right? He was in Miami. He was in Atlanta. The manager was using that money to keep him out of New York because once he got back to New York, that's when he would get back on the drugs. He'd get back with the people. He'd start going to the places where he would get high and everything else like that. So he kept trying to keep him away from New York, but ultimately they finally had to come back to New York to finish the album or something like that. So they were using the booking money to keep him in Miami and so forth. And he was good. And he was gaining weight because he was off the drugs. And then ultimately, we're not exactly sure what happened. We're not sure it was an overdose because I think the family's kind of keeping that private. But, if you were to put his past history together, but, now that he passed, it is somewhat messy because he had anywhere between 14 and 17 children.
He did well. You put on the earth to procreate. He did exactly what the
he
Bible told him to do.
He
That's why he prayed every night.
Yeah. But he owed the IRS $1.2 million.
Good.
Which I guess they'll never get at this point, unless they go after the estate.
But they can't.
They can't?
No. They can, but everybody's going to take what they can take, what's left there anyway.
Right. But there was no will.
Right. His income.
So there is going to be a vicious fight between all the the kids and their mothers and his fiance who he had been with for 10 years tried to seize control of the estate. The judge ended up blocking it. So now it's gonna
back in
the system. I think in probate, it's gonna get basically fought over for years and years. No one's gonna see a penny. And
that's the way the government sits.
That's the way
puts the money down.
Yeah, they'll hold the money, they'll reinvest it, they'll double and triple it.
And everybody pay attention. You are a number. That's what your social security number is, your driver's license, and you are a number. So if you want the money that's guaranteed or supposedly that I tell you is fake, but if you want that money to do things for you when you're not here, preparation ahead. It's so funny. The living will, you sit around with the lawyer and talk about doing it. It's a trip that you have to even put yourself in that position. But I'm probably worth more dead than I am alive. So that's another. Well, that's not true in dollars because my worth is unbelievable.
Did you know DMX?
Yeah.
Well?
No.
In passing?
Yeah. I tell you, I wanted to meet him so bad that Tom Arnold was doing that movie.
Oh, yeah, right.
That I ran down there. And I would see it. And then I've been at every event. So, until like 10 years ago, I went to if there was an event to go to, I went to it. I haven't been to the Grammys because I want to sit there with my artists. And I think I'm close that my artist in the near future is going to get a Grammy, and I'll be there.
Yeah, man. Such a loss, but I always feel that whenever someone passes away, the most important thing to do for people who are alive is to take a look and see how they could avoid some of the mistakes that this person has made and internalize them into their own lives. If you have children, if you have people that you take care of, put together a will.
Yeah.
Or,
put together
don't
get a trust.
Yeah, get a trust. Have a situation where everyone that was depending on you ends up fighting over the estate, for decades to come.
Remember, they didn't bury James Brown for 6 months.
I remember
because they had to keep pulling DNA. That's amazing, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Get your affairs in order. And I mean, listen, he was 50 years old. He didn't think he was going to die anytime soon.
Hey, he made it further than most. A lot of people don't make it to 50. It's funny in this country, America, most people didn't live past 47. They just started living. I found this out. We just started living longer in America because of penicillin. Like it was people dying in early before 60 was a known thing. That's why Social Security is 65. They didn't think people were going to live that long.
Right. Yeah. Go ahead and put all your money in your IRA and 401k. You ain't gonna live long enough to enjoy it anyways. Yeah, you can take it out tax-free at that point because we think you're gonna die before then. Right. No, that's how it is. It's all part of an equation.
Man. Take care. Live. Go vegan.
Yeah, man. I agree.
Call Chopper.
Yep. No, man. I feel you. And you see, I think was it Gift of Gab from Black Alicious?
Yeah.
Recently passed away. And I remember listening to him back in the day. I hadn't really kept up, but when I took a pic, I saw a picture of him, I'm like, okay, this guy was very overweight. They're saying he died at 50 from natural causes. Like what in the hell? That's not natural causes.
Wow.
I mean, I guess they're saying it that way, that there was no foul play or whatever else, but ultimately I'm 48. I'm not trying to check out in 2 years. And when you see people, but he was very heavy. When you see all these men and women dying in their 40s and 50s and sometimes their 30s, and when you look at them, you say that there is a pattern. There is a pattern of being overweight, of not taking care of yourself, of not watching what you eat. I lost 20 pounds during the pandemic and I kept it off. I went from 226 to 206 and I've kept it off. I changed my diet. I changed my workout routine. I cut red meat out of my diet. I went mostly vegetarian. I paid attention to how much I ate, because I remember reading an article about, living forever and all these different technology. Oh, these stem cells here and you could take this injection that takes these other cells and whatever. And at the end of the article, they said, but most of the stuff is unproven, but what is consistent is eating less. If you eat less food and keep your calorie count lower, you will almost definitely live a lot longer.
Did the FDA write
that? John Salley, always a pleasure, man.
Thank you, brother.
Until next time. Peace.